It is still October 6th, and I took that other sweater off of my head. I really don't know what's going on with the lighting tonight, but everything looks really orangish, and nothing has changed with my... nothing has changed with the lighting in my house at all. And I did have a different head covering thing over my head, but I don't know, with the way that the lighting was, it basically made me look like I was a homeless person with like a weird blanket on my head. So I just took that off, and I want to continue talking about what happened when I was in, and maybe I'll just get my eyes this time. And then anybody can watch this, no matter how conservative they are. But basically, anyway, this looks kind of weird. I have this up very close to my face right now because I'm cold, and I'm sitting next to a heater in my house because I am conserving. I don't have the other thing going on right now, and I don't feel like bundling up quite as much. Basically, this is just looking kind of weird. Well, I think this is almost okay because you can see my face enough. You can't see my eyebrows, but I don't think that's going to be missed. So basically, it's October 6th, and I'm continuing my talking about some things that I wanted to talk about tonight. And I'm closer up in focus right now because I'm sitting in a different location, and earlier I looked at the video clips. I don't know what's going on with the lighting, but it's not any different than it is usually, and yet my skin and everything was looking... the camera was doing something weird with the tint to make everything look yellowish and orange, and that's not the true color of what I was seeing in the camera, or what is reflected here. So anyway, let's see, I will start. Okay, so this woman basically picked me up from the wine place, and I did see somebody outside of the wine place when I showed up there. It was an Italian looking man. He was standing outside, and he looked over at her, and she saw him, and he kind of nodded. I don't know who he was. He was a good looking, tall Italian man who happened to be in Seattle, in that airport, I mean. And it looked like he was happy that I was where I was, that I was sitting there and that I was meeting her. But my feeling is that she worked for the federal government, and then she was married to somebody from Canada. Basically, she told me that I could stay with them for a short time, and all of a sudden I was on their sailboat, and, you know, things were looking up just a little bit. But they were talking a lot about the Holy Grail and making some jokes. She'd been to England and to Scotland, and as a writer, I think a wine reviewer as well. And then she met him. She said she was Mormon, but she wasn't practicing at all, and then she at some point said that she was bisexual, or admitted later down the road that she was, or she had some time interest. I don't know how much. I mean, she didn't express an interest in me specifically. I mean, she never came out and said anything, but she let me know, and I met one of the women that she was intimate with sometimes. And we went to a place, and that was fine. She took me out to sushi. We had really excellent sushi. I mean, I am thankful to her that I had a place to stay and food to eat and had some fun in the moment. But the thing is what she was wanting to do later was almost like an entire setup. She did a complete reversal of goodwill and good deeds. I mean goodwill in the sense of having good intentions and showing that through good deeds. She went from that to trying to later dump all of my things off with me when I was later in Tennessee, at a point when she and anybody else would have known that I had no safe place to collect my things, and that they would have then been up for grabs for law enforcement or officials in Tennessee. I mean, I could have lost all of my if she had sent my belongings to Tennessee, I could have lost everything, basically to that state and to officials there, or to people stealing from me. But probably, most likely, it would have ended up in the hands of other people. And she knew that I couldn't have them dumped off at that time, and she was going to keep them for longer. So what I thought was the strangest thing about that is that I spent this time with her and her partner from Canada. And at that time, I hadn't fully processed how it really was Canada as well as the United States that had done so much harm to me and my son. And I guess I was just very surprised that she would welcome me into her home and to have a little room and everything. I think what maybe somebody thought is that at any moment I was going to change my mind and call up Alvaro, and that then everything was going to work out, and in the meantime they were going to handle me with, you know, pushing me around in a few places, but then now and then kid gloves kind of a thing. But that really didn't last that long. It was kind of like I was being told to take a job. There was this woman, she said she knew a woman named Annie, and I met this woman. She wanted me to make crepes at the restaurant, and I had no problem making crepes. I thought that sounded like a fine job I would take, and no big deal. But then when she said that she had a tent, I could stand outside in Pioneer Market and stand under a little tent in Pioneer Market and flip crepes in public, I didn't go for that idea. I mean, I don't mind being inside of a restaurant and cooking behind the counter a little bit and doing some, you know, working as a server, but trying to set up my own tent outdoors and flipping crepes publicly while everybody and their dog walks by is not, you know, out in the wide open. That does not feel very safe to me, in any kind of way. And I don't like being on public display in that particular way. I mean, if I have to work for a job, there are plenty of jobs that I could probably get, and, you know, not involve setting up a tent. I'm not even strong enough to to carry around the equipment that would be required for setting up a tent. It would be way too heavy for me. If it was something else that I wasn't so demonstrative or maybe theatrical looking, then I wouldn't have a problem with it and I would have said yes. But I had this weird feeling that they wanted me to be out in public, that this woman Annie did want me to be in public, and then it was going to be sort of a humiliating thing. And I wasn't comfortable with that. So I did let her know. I mean, I was open to work, and I did look at a few different places, and I told her that I would work indoors, but I wouldn't be able to do the tent thing because I wasn't strong enough to carry the equipment. And so she never called me back. Basically, they wanted me outdoors under the tent. I looked for different kinds of work. I ended up staying in a little room upstairs. It was really cute. I played some music a little bit, and it was a nice place. I didn't feel that they didn't trust me or that there was anything wrong in that regard. I ended up having all of my belongings, everything except for the Hope chest, because Michael Holt held on to it, and I was going to contest that in court, but for the meantime I basically picked up all my belongings and took them over to that place in Seattle. So then everything that I had and that I had had with Alvaro was now in Seattle, Washington. And it was supposed to be kept in safekeeping there, and I was told that it would be. Basically, I was told everything will be in safekeeping, and it was down in a basement, and I was told, you know, when you want it, just let us know, and then we can make those arrangements. And that sounded very good to me. There was plenty of space down there, so it wasn't like they had a lot of, it wasn't like I was taking up a ton of room or anything. And so I stayed there for a little while. I drank a little bit of wine. Like, she introduced me to a few of the different like winery review types of things that she did. Went out to dinner a little bit. They allowed me to have a little bit to eat, and I looked for work. I went to the yacht club with them. I met some of their yacht club racing friends who were pretty international. Actually, for their team was almost entirely international. There were people from every country almost. Well, I mean, not every country, but almost every person was from a different country that was on their team. Just kind of looking like another U.S. Department of State person. Anyway, I noticed that there was they had done the decorating in their house, including in their bathroom. They had done all the work, and I asked who had done the work in the bathroom, and they had a little compass on the ground. They basically had the bathroom designed to have a compass like the CIA has a compass on their business cards and things. There is a sort of a compass type of a symbol. And I remember when I saw that huge symbol on their bathroom floor, and having seen the kind of international people they had contacts with, I wondered if it crossed my mind whether or not she was connected to the CIA. And what is interesting is that much later down the road, somebody else told me, not connected to her, but just told me randomly, said, the CIA is in Seattle. And I'm not even sure why someone said that, because I didn't bring up this. I think maybe I said something about FBI, but I said CIA is overseas. Or maybe he said CIA, and I said, no, they're overseas. And then this person corrected me and said, no, the CIA is also in Seattle. And I said, I thought they just worked overseas. And he said, a lot of them do. He said, but there's a lot of CIA that works within the United States. I didn't know that. But regardless of who she worked for, I felt that she worked for some United States group. And then her partner was Canadian, so I really don't know what his affiliation was. He also worked in with a medical supply company, or owned a medical supply company, or some kind of he didn't, or had some kind of a medical hospital. He was on the board, or he helped own it, or run it, or manage it, something like that, in Seattle. And later, basically I looked for work. I spent about 2 weeks there. And during that time, I was looking for something that would work out. And then finally I found something.